So last time we left off, we started talking about brand stature, and that's essentially the esteem of the product. How popular is it? Basically by using it. How does it make me feel? How does it make me look to others? And so the second last aspect is knowledge. How well do I really know this brand? Do I really get what it's about? And so by having strength and stature, that's the way I get strong brands. And as we can see, esteem is related to not only quality, but quality and popularity. Now, there's still the issue of the order of things. And if your esteem is greater than your knowledge, then the consumer is probably going to want to get to know you because they have good feelings about you. On the other hand, if they know you, but their knowing you doesn't match how they feel about you, then you're not very special. And so that's why there's an order into the development of your brand. And this is also called the power grid. That when you're starting out, you don't have much strength or stature. You're near the origin, so you're a new product. And starting out with, if you're building up differentiation and relevance, then you could be leader of a niche, and then you could become the overall leader in a market. But typically when brands go down, the first thing you lose is differentiation. And once that happens, you become a commodity. And so we could see it in several different products. One thing about Hallmark is that they've been able to maintain their brand because they maintain all four pillars. On the other hand, Howard Johnson's and Greyhound, I used to take the bus a lot when I was young because I was raised in the East and there's public transportation. But Greyhound, now it's like you just get on any bus you can. Howard Johnson's stopped distinguishing themselves as a hotel. And AOL, they weren't different than anybody else. And so subsequently, they've become a commodity now. When you talk about tech brands, relevance is extremely important, and it's because popularity can't save you. If you don't provide a function and relate to the customer, you don't have any value. E and K can switch around when you're talking about digital media, so you have to be careful about that. But first and foremost, when you have a tech brand, you have to be about differentiation. What distinguishes you from everyone else? And so for each of these, probably the brand listed below, which are in the most danger. Actually, they're all in danger. Probably Intel the least. But HP, what do they really stand out at? IBM, considered to be an old brand. Dell, I'll never understand that last major purchase. And Java is getting replaced by other software. And so when we look at brands, the keys are your message. What message are you sending to people? So Johnson & Johnson removing the Tylenol from the shelves, taking hundreds of $millions a hit when they had the tainted Tylenol. On the other hand, GoPro forgot its origins. They forgot they were about customer intimacy. They were about the extreme sports guys. And they became a camera company. And subsequently, they took a big hit. Your actions have to support the brand. Again, J&J is still getting an example. Dell hiding their motherboard issues hurt them pretty badly. I know I was a Dell buyer and I will never buy another Dell as long as I live because that was such a horrendous experience. Intel had enough sense that they fought with people over it, but then eventually they did replace the things. Dell played games with you. And then finally, the keys to a good brand are consistency. The one thing you can count on, for example, like Intel, is that their processors are always going to get better. It's going to be interesting to see what they do when they get below 10 nanometer, though. And I honestly believe if Steve Jobs was still alive, he would have never let that first iWatch be released. And it's because Apple was always about dazzling you. It was about, when they came out with a product, it was an event because it was something new and neat and all. And the iWatch just wasn't just wasn't that. And so basically Apple showed itself to just be like a big corporation. Now, branding requires you to have a writer's focus. What I mean that is that the difference between professional writers and everyone else is professional writers, when they write, there's a meaning for every word. There's a great intensity to writing. And so the same thing goes with your brand. Everything that you do with your brand, the color, the communication, the logo, and everything has to be consistent. That's the way you build recognition. If you send out mixed signals, people forget, and so they don't learn about your brand, and they don't have the same feeling. Now, in terms of the brand name, whether it's new or existing, and same thing with the product, this pretty much points to what business opportunities that you have. Now, in terms of brand extension, can I extend my brand into a new class of products? And the pros of it is, I'm well known, so I could take advantage of that. It's not like I'm going into this new market being unknown. On the other hand, if the brand doesn't help that extension, that basically you've changed things too much, you can damage your brand. And if you damage your brand, then you damage the associations. And so brands are a lot like relationships. A lot of work to build and very easy to come crashing down around you. And so why risk it? Well, again, inexpensively, you can create recognition for your product, like Starbucks going into ice cream. You could provide differentiation. Michelin tires, they thought, well, we're about travel, so let's make a travel restaurant ride. Yeah, that's something different. You can, in terms of trial, you can reduce risk. When Bic disposable razors gave out, they gave a lot of them. The risk is that you can give them out for free, but is anybody going to use it? But it was a Bic. People were curious. And so subsequently it also increases the favorability because you have that feeling about your brand. On the other hand, Gerber tried to make Gerber singles for young adults and college students. Yeah, I don't think you want to eat baby food. Bic they took it a little too far. They had such great success with razors and lighters, they decided to make disposable underwear. Wah, wah, wah. Zippo decided to make women's perfume. The smell of kerosene? Yeah, you sit there and say, well, what were these people thinking? Harley Davidson decided to make cake decorating kits. Yeah, that's what I think of when I think of Harley. And Smith & Wesson decided to make mountain bikes. So you can shoot people while you're riding your bike? But anyway, these people thought just because you have a brand name doesn't necessarily mean you have an extension. And the companies that are successful at this, it's because the values of the brand haven't changed. In each of these cases, the brands have changed. When you think of Harley Davidson, you think of, tough guy cycler. Cake decorating? So in terms of leveraging your brand, the first part is to analyze and understand the meaning of your brand and how it relates to the market and evaluate the new category. And we'll wrap up the rest of branding, which is, and here are some more examples of leveraging that you could read about. And the right way to do it is like Nike. What did Nike do? They went from shoes to apparel to sports equipment. And the consistency they maintained, it's always about the athlete. And so, in equipping the athlete. And so, the thing you also have to be careful about is when you decide to leverage your brand in a new field, if you burn a bridge, you can't go back. And so, in the next lecture, we'll talk about brand